Welcome to another episode of THOTS Podcast. We are not thoughts, but we have thoughts. True, honest opinions towards success. Join us for another candid conversation and valuable insight on achieving success in life and navigating through today's culture. Hosted by myself, Zakira Casado, along with some incredible guests. We're here to explore you on your journey of triumph. Let's dive in. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of THOTS Podcast. And as you know, we just have to get your attention, but we are not thoughts over here. We just have thoughts, true, honest opinions towards success. And I'm super excited today because we have a special guest in the house who is really phenomenal. And I'm excited to expose you all to his music and all that jazz. And I was referred to him by I swear this woman is one of the most amazing human beings on the planet. Shout out to Miss Maria. She reminds me of a West Side Story. But anyway, this gentleman is really, really a force to be reckoned with. He's a full-time entrepreneur, a businessman. He is the owner of the first Black-owned hat store in all of Raleigh, North Carolina, which is called Alpha, which I'm so loving that name and can't wait to dive into that. And if you have been under a rock, you have not heard about his music, you can follow him and discover his music on Apple Music, every platform that's out there, under J Locked, and that's J.LOCKE. It should pop up here. Okay, it'll pop up here. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on our guest, J Locked. Hi, Jay.
How are you?
I'm well. I wish I had sound effects. Well, definitely good afternoon. Thanks for definitely taking your time out your schedule to be here with us. And I'm really excited about having this conversation. So tell us about yourself. How long have you been in music? I've had the pleasure of listening to a lot of your music, almost all of it. And just tell me exactly how long you've been in music and what really inspired you to get into it.
I think I was very early. I think I was a kid beating on furniture and as a child, like barely able to walk, and kind of that turned into me playing drums in church, to me getting into the rap game early. I remember the rap battles. You always hear that from New York and different ciphers, but being in rap battles in school and kind of seeing people thought it was a fight because there was so many people around.
Right.
And
it
turned out, yeah. You know how we like drama even back then. So I've been doing music. I did my first song 96, first recording. And that has kind of just been rocking since then.
Yeah. So I'm not going to lie, listening to your music is very refreshing because a lot of people don't notice about me. I'm a hip hop junkie. I like the old school, where you can actually hear the person talk. No offense to these new artists, but it's a lot of skimming and ring ding, a lot of, and I'm not hating. I think a lot of it is propaganda.
Sure.
Because some of these people, I'm like, you cannot be serious. But listening to it, it definitely was refreshing. And it was also interesting that it was a lot of gospel. So it was like you got both the inspiration, the soulful music, as well as it's rap, hip hop. How did that happen? Why in the direction of gospel did you start there?
I am a believer. I grew up in the church. This is the Bible Belt down south. So you hear not only those elements in my music, but you also hear it in J. Cole's. You hear it in Rhapsody, Ninth Wonder, Anthony Hamilton. Like you hear all of that culture, that upbringing in our music. So yeah, North Carolina is a melting pot of sounds. Before we had an identity in music, we listen to everybody. So you hear that church influence, you hear that neo soul influence, you hear that R&B influence, especially in my later music like Mr. and Mrs. and The Return of King Joffrey. So uh, and
I would. I think Creative is Creative on that album.
yeah, yeah.
That song, y'all gotta listen to Creative. I was like, okay, J Lo. That is my favorite on that album.
Dope, dope.
So
We actually got a part two coming out later this year.
okay. So a lot Mr. and Mrs. Is like a love album.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
what inspired that? Like what inspired like I love the dialogue and the conversations like where like the husband is like playing jokes with the wife and stuff like
yeah.
that. Like where was that inspired from? Where did that come from?
You know what's crazy about that record? The concept of that EP um sounds crazy. Came about as I was getting a divorce.
Mm.
It was it's dedicated to the union of marriage between a man and a woman. I still stand on that. I still believe in that. I'm not married, but I still believe in that union, in that commitment. And I just think that's a beautiful place. That's I think men need to really kind of have that in the forefront. Most of my friends are married. Most of my friends credit their wives to their success because they out in the streets, and so they home, and the right woman establishes order in your life. So yeah, that's kind of where that Mr. and Mrs. that desire, that idea of what that kind of union I can have and kind of settle. Although I'm not in the streets as a single man, so ladies, no. But
So
yeah.
I have two questions from that. I think there's an attack on marriage in our communities because, like I said, listening to that album, I was like, man, this would be great if people heard this more than what you hear
Yeah.
regularly, which is, a transactional love. If I do this,
Right.
I get this from you. If you get
Right.
this from me, then I expect this from you. Um,
Right.
Do you feel like this is something that is intentional in our community?
Yes. I mean, when you look back at, and our history is so much richer than slavery, right? But speaking of intent, when you look at one of the first things that they took from us coming off of those boats is our marriages, our unions, our family structure. So they've been taking that systematically ever since. They give you your freedom, but you want to kind of promote, if you listen to hip hop, or you, like you said, that transactional love, or baby, I can buy you ice, I can do this, I can get that. Don't you like my watch? Don't you like my chain? And
And if
you
I
you,
do,
you
then I get this money.
right, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I definitely think it's a system in place to keep us separated and segregated. Um, but I'm an activist, and I think fighting for marriage is a form of activism. I think having those discussions about mental health in relationships. I think we're so flimsy in relationships, partially because a lot of us, like myself, haven't. I didn't grow up with that healthy idea of what a marriage is and what a healthy relationship was. So for men, we're kind of winging it in some cases, in most cases.
Yeah, because it was
So
such a lot of homes. If you don't have an example of something, then doing it from scratch is extremely difficult.
right,
You got to
try
think
to
about that.
if you want to compare it, I ask your viewers, try to write a paragraph in Spanish and don't speak Spanish.
Right,
Good luck.
right. And I think also, and it's funny because my parents have been together for a really long time.
Yes.
My son's, I believe my son will be 21 Monday.
Oh,
Yes, he'll be 21 Monday. My youngest will be 20 in June. Anyway, um, even with seeing a family together
mhm.
for a long time, there were things that I would see that you might not realize is not healthy parts of a relationship.
Sure, sure.
And it takes a lot of really healing. I think a lot of people underestimate the trauma that they might have experienced or the things that they haven't experienced. And now we don't really know why we're doing certain things, and which leads us to not being together. Um,
My story.
Say it again.
You, my story. You just described my whole last relationship.
Oh, wow. Me too. It's like, what happens is I think so there's this book. I always recommend a book or two on these shows. It's called What's Normal. And I cannot think of the artist, but I mean artist. I'm in artist head because you're an artist. But
Mhm.
it talked about so many things that you might think isn't normal, that is normal, that is absolutely not. And so what do you feel, specifically black men, what do you feel that they need, like in that realm, in that area, in order to really help us to get back to being what your that album describes?
Grace.
Mm.
Grace. I think just just my personal experience. Um, we're in a society where we want it perfect,
Hmm.
and we don't understand that we'll go through things until we get it right, until we fix it. History. Um, I think we need grace. I think we need to. I think we need therapy. I think we need couples therapy. I think I would at this stage of the game come if you really like if you see this woman and this is your woman and or vice versa, start with therapy
Mm.
in
Why
the
you
dating process.
why you think that
Like if you're in a position where you are like this lady here, man, I can't live without, and we're gonna pursue marriage and we're gonna have something. Which at a certain age you should be dating with intent.
hmm
Um, yeah, I think that is the healing process together only makes the bond stronger. Um, yeah, I think a lot of grace. I think for me, it took a lot of oops, a lot of moments, and where I messed up to really kind of examine and be like, okay, so what is it like? How do I continue to get here? And when I got it, and then I started to kind of dive into the reason why that was happening. And once you can pinpoint a place of trauma, then you can kind of start the process of healing.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I love that because it's really difficult to look at yourself as and take
mm,
responsibility for your
mm,
contribution in this healing. I mean, in this, well, I won't say demise, but in the break of whatever this was, right? And so
yeah,
going inward is something that I think definitely therapy helps with. Um,
yeah.
but in our community, if you tell someone you're in therapy, they look like, girl, that girl crazy.
That, that
Like,
that hasn't that hasn't been my experience though.
no.
Nah, like, but who's gonna tell me something crazy about something that I'm doing? You know what I mean?
My parents was like, "You sure everything is all right? You sure you okay, baby? Why you in therapy?"
Yeah, I will say when I did therapy, my first therapy session was the hardest day of my life, one of the hardest days of my life.
Mm,
But it created Heartbreak, which is on the Return of King Joffrey EP. That song was made in that season of um, that season, and that's one of the hardest songs I've ever had to write in my life because I had to be honest, and it took a lot of soul searching to know that that one line, no one taught me how to love something.
Yeah.
Like that's most men story, but we've never processed it that way. We've never saw it as, I don't have no example. When you have that understanding, right, then you can give yourself the grace to be available for learning how to process that. And I'm no therapist. This is just my personal experience, and I'm a writer, so the words are easy to kind of, describe what the emotion was. But yeah, I just think I think grace is necessary, and hopefully your partner is spiritually and mentally mature enough to handle that process
Now,
with you.
when you say grace, though, like, how much grace? Because when do you think, how much grace do you think someone should give someone? Like, let's say this person is in a place of discovery, right? But in that place of discovery, you're kind of wasting my time. So how much grace would you say that person should give?
There's a difference between a man trying as opposed to a man that's just playing. And,
Say
and
that
you
last
know,
cut out a little bit. You said a man trying and a man.
playing.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. There's a difference.
can you
You
give
gotta
some examples
you gotta have a
for the
certain level
lady?
of discernment. Hmm?
You cut out a little bit. I'm sorry, guys. If it's, can you hear me, Jay?
I can't.
Okay. Can you tell us like some differences? Like what's the difference between someone playing and someone trying?
For example, and there's levels to it, right? Like if a man is beating you,
Mm,
that's different. You know what I mean? Like get out of that. If a man's beating you, or any of those abusive things, emotionally, physically, But if a man, when I say if a man is trying, if a man is like, let's go to therapy.
mm-hmm.
If a man is like, let's go and get counseling, like that's a man trying. No man just playing games with you is gonna be like, baby, I'm serious this time. Like, let's go to therapy. No, um, he's just buying time. But someone that's actively trying to figure out what they're dealing with and what they're going through, and want you to be a part of that process. But also, ladies, be available emotionally. Like a lot of that man got to be in a position to feel like he can be vulnerable with you, and he can't feel vulnerable if you pouring salt in the wound and you know pulling out the little daggers and y'all mad. I go, yeah.
Using things
So
against them and
yeah, that's bad. That's no bueno. That allows that man to shut down like you would.
yeah.
Women shut down. And if you feel like if you're dealing with something, in most cases, if a man is willing to go to therapy with this woman, he's fighting for his relationship, he's fighting for his family, he's fighting for his life.
I agree.
Y'all playing with him. You know what I mean? Like y'all. Remember that time in Mexico? You know what I'm saying? Like
You don't want
sometimes
to
you
keep
got to be
reminding
careful.
somebody about their past, especially when they're trying, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because then it's not going to.
yeah.
And I think what we forget is that one of the most important things is to feel safe in your relationship. And if someone's constantly doing that, then, and I won't lie, like I know on the, probably had maybe three long term relationships. And I think the first one I didn't know better. I mean, me and my kid's father was like younger. And that's what you saw. Like, unfortunately, if you see it, you are going
Mhm.
to emulate it. And like you were saying before, I think if you have a good therapist, and I know it's definitely can be a challenge with even just taking the step to want to do therapy. That's like admitting, like, I need some help, and a lot of us, we don't even like to say we need help,
Yeah.
even when, Jay, you there?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay.
I'm listening intensely.
Yes, I know. I just wanted to make sure we didn't have a glitch. And so, and then when that happens, we don't, when we reach out and we actually take the steps in doing this, a good therapist will never tell you what's wrong with you, but they'll guide you. And that's what I think some people don't, they miss concept about therapies. You're going to go there and they're going to tell you, you're a goddamn, you're batshit
That's the
crazy.
truth. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
excuse my French, but they don't do that. What they do is they help you to see, like, okay, why did this happen and where was your contribution, or those type of things. So knowing the differences and from your experience, has therapy helped in that area, not just in for relationships, but I know one thing for sure as an entrepreneur, I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, is that you can hide behind your work
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
you don't see nothing's wrong with anything,
Yeah.
and till you get into a romantic relationship, I feel is when it comes out. It's like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did I get here?
Right. Right. It's a crazy world, and I think that's what happened because when I was working, I mean, I'm 7 days a week, so
Yeah.
I think one of the hardest things for me at the end of that experience, especially working in the mall, which Triangle Town Center kicked us out. Um, it was like I realized that I was alone. Like the people that was there was all there because I was paying them, and I didn't have
Mm,
that support. So it became isolated. And then grievance, a friend of mine that died suddenly, and then the weight of business. And if you're the strong person in your circle, then all you hear is the phone calls become more about what the people need. And at the end, before you get off, you okay, baby? You all right? You good?
yeah.
And that's just small talk at that point. Um, so yeah, like I recommend that's necessary because you can lose your mind and you can lose yourself trying to be there for everybody else.
Robin Williams, you remember him, the artist? I
Mhm.
mean, I keep calling everybody an artist. The actor. The
Yeah.
actor, Robin Williams, one of his quotes was, "People think the low. How does it go? Being alone isn't as lonely as being around people who make you feel alone."
Mm, very true.
Yeah, like
Very
if you think like, like if you're single and you're alone and you're by yourself physically, but it's your space versus you're around all these people, hundreds, not hundreds. I mean,
true.
even if it's
Depending
10,
on who you are.
even if it's five, but if you
Yeah.
don't feel like you for sure, these are my people, it can
Mm-hmm.
feel like heartbreak. Check that
Oh,
out. Single, yeah.
nice segue. Like what you did there. Like what you did there.
Yeah, it definitely. So moving forward into your career in music, we got out of the 2015s and we're in 2024.
Mm.
That
Mm.
we're in 2024 now. Tell me about the inspiration from book. Is it booked?
The book.
The book.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Where were you at? Um, where was the inspiration from that? Because instantly, you know how like certain you guys got to check it out. You just go to his music and click book. Like you know, like as soon as you hear it, it's like yeah, you can't even stop it. Like, oh, this is nice. Where was that inspired from?
That was me being a Scorpio and just being aggressive. Like I
Scorpio.
yeah, yeah,
Ah!
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that was
Have
that
too much
was most.
Scorpio that I get hate mail.
Are you a Scorpio?
No, no, let me stop. I'm a Pisces.
Okay.
I
All
just had a
right. All
birthday.
right.
My birthday was in March.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So
I
yeah,
won't call you out.
say it
I
again.
won't call you out and ask for your birthday here. I'll do that behind the scenes. How
Okay.
old you are? Yeah.
Oh, I'm 39. I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind.
Beautiful.
I'm, I'm
Beautiful.
knocking on the door of 40 next year, and it's okay.
Yeah. The 40s are amazing. You learn a
Yeah,
lot about yourself in the 40s.
I can see that. I feel like I have an old soul, so to
Hmm.
speak. So, I kind of grew up fast because I had my sons younger, and I had both of them. I was 19, and so I was around older people. But I feel
Hmm.
like me leaving the 30s, it's kind of like I don't know, like with my kids older, it's a weird space. I'm not even gonna lie. It's kind of like I'm not in my 20s, but I feel young still, but I
Yeah,
feel like it's games. I feel like I'm just getting started. So if I say that to certain people, they're like, what? Like, no,
I
it's
get it.
time. Like, very
I get it.
intentional.
I get it. I get it. I understand it. Absolutely. It's
So
a
you're
beautiful thing.
okay. So you look younger than what I would think then if you said the 40s are wonderful.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm
All
I'm closer. I'm closer to 50 than I am 40.
right. Got you. Okay. Black don't
39.
crack, y'all. Black. There's
Mhm.
one thing about being black. But what I was saying on my last show, where the emotion I feel going into a new decade, when you really think about it, it's not a lot of those. Like you
Mhm.
got 10 years old don't really count because you're not in control of your life. 20, you don't know
Right.
who the hell you are.
Right.
30, depending on your experiences, it's like, man, I've either been through a lot of stuff or you've done a lot of things, but it's different, and then leaving 30 is kind of like, whoo,
Yeah.
I just recently had a very similar experience where a friend just dropped off the face of the earth. We're the same age, and it's kind of like sometimes I feel not bad, but like, if you ever waste time, and I work a lot, you know what I mean? So it's like
Mhm.
sometimes you don't feel comfortable in resting, and then I'm like, well, I need to rest, and then someone dies, and you're like, wait, I don't need to rest.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's kind of like where I'm at, where it's like, yeah, I need the rest, self care, but I also don't have a lot of time. So we gotta,
Right.
you know. But anyway,
Yeah. Absolutely. A friend of mine told me I didn't get this concept until it was said to me, but I forgot who it was, but they was like, I'm at the age where I can still date older women and then I can still date younger women. And when I thought about it, just in my experience of people, I come in contact with, it was true. Like I think I had somebody in their 20s trying to talk to me, and I was like, I'm at that age. I'm like, baby, you're too young. Like, it's nothing you
speaking
can
of
do.
which, what do you feel like? Because I think for men and women it's different. Like a part of me feels like, well, a man can be like 60 and he still, if he wanted to start a family, he could. It's
If
not
he can
like,
afford it,
huh?
if he can afford it, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If he can afford it, let's just say, and he wants to for some crazy reason at 60, right? He can.
Mhm.
Where
Yeah,
a woman, she kind of has a clock, you
yeah,
know, her clock kind of cuts.
right.
So do you think that factors into the value of, or no, or not?
Of what? Of a relationship with a younger woman?
Yes. So what do you think? Because like for example, this young lady, I forgot her name. I don't know her name, but she recently had a child with someone who is, it would be like if I had a child with someone my son's age, but I don't know if you saw this story. He's like a famous basketball player rising, and she has a son the same age as him. So,
Rough.
right, I'm just like,
Yeah.
but if it was the way around, and I'm not saying this that I agree with it anymore, that I don't,
Right,
but
right, right.
I don't know if they would get the same reaction. If he's 60 and she's 30, the same thing.
I think for men, it's like a high five moment because how you pull that off, you know. It really depends on the age though, or the person, because some people be like, "You gonna have a heart attack fooling with that girl." Uh, so
Well,
it really depends.
I think he died in the act.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think. I don't know if that's true because I don't.
No,
I
it
know.
is.
I
It
think.
happened,
Huh?
but he took a lot of stuff. There was a lot going on with what he took.
Oh, okay. Like the pills and
Yeah,
okay. Well,
he was trying to have a good night.
okay. Well, so your perspective of that is it's not different.
To each his own. For me, I require a different energy. Like I like a grown woman, so I'm probably not going to be, Instagramming it and taking pictures of the food before we eat it and all of that stuff. That's not my lane. Um, I wouldn't even be on social media if it wasn't for business. So,
And that's something I teach my clients. Like if you don't have, it's so consuming. Now let me ask you this: since we're talking about it's the new TV. Back in
it
the
is.
day when I was in business, our mentors would call the TV the income reducing machine or something. I forget what they would call it. But now you have so much access to the phones,
Right.
and people take social media. You know, I have like the double edged sword. I believe it's a great tool for you in business. I think it's
Yeah.
great for leveraging. I think it
Yeah.
eliminates the middleman in regards to producer and consumer.
Right.
But how do you think social media affects us, the human side of us, and relationships?
So, social media has caused more arguments in my past relationships than a little been a little bit. Oh my goodness, it's terrible.
Oh my gosh! What do you mean? Like what kind of? I don't mean to laugh, but I
I
feel like
mean,
it's
funny though.
like it's
It,
why.
it's really funny. It's really funny. It's sad. Um, two double-edged sword. Women wanting to be validated on social media. Like if you
Mm,
go through my social media, I don't have pictures of my kids up there. I don't have pictures of any woman I've dated. Like it really is a tool, like you said.
yeah,
Um, But in a relationship, we're in a society in a time where that woman wants to be validated
yeah.
and she wants pictures of us on social media and all of that stuff. And then heaven forbid someone compliments me on a pay or on a picture or something, then it's all over the
They be
place.
like, "Oh, that's that salt and pepper beard." They be like, "Who is this
Oh my
chick?
goodness.
What's
I
she talking
get
about salt and pepper beard? Did you meet her? Did
right.
you
Oh,
see
it's
her?
terrible.
How does she
The
know you
pressure.
music?"
Emojis have caused arguments in my stuff. Yeah, put a heart emoji, put some heart eyes on one of my. So it really kind of, um, yeah, it's been problematic. It's been problematic. I definitely feel like I have to, there's a certain level of maturity that we have to have. I'm in the public. So and when you're in the public, women, especially when they first experience you, they're not wondering. They don't see me as someone that's can
Probably,
possibly happen. Yeah,
yeah.
they just oh, he's cute. Let me Show them. Let me just say something. They say that Morris Chestnut and all these other guys that women, go crazy for. Denzel Washington. And I don't know why I got to get all the beef.
No, I agree. I think if you are a person that's out there in the public, there is a level of security in the person that you are dating, and they have to understand business somewhat. Do you think that's a challenge? Because I think so. I think it's a challenge when an entrepreneur dates, now I wouldn't call him a jobber, but someone who doesn't use it for leverage, the tool, or it's a totally different mindset. Like me, I had to completely change my thinking going into business. So, with that being said, when you're dating someone who just don't get it, I could see why you would have that kind of reaction because you can't help the reactions of people unless,
Right.
don't get me wrong. Like, for example, like, can you imagine, and I don't really follow them, but like a Cardi and Offset, like I've seen her entire body in the last 48 hours.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? If it would
Right.
be different if you were doing that, and I don't even think it would be different. It's just again an understanding in that relationship, where
Right.
that's how we make money. This is how we have this house. This is how I have this, and
Right.
in accepting of that. So I do agree. I feel like social media is a very big revealing tool. So I have a book
Right.
called Social Media Secrets That Get You Paid. I'm gonna change it to
Right.
that pay because it's so long. But I was gonna make another one. Nobody take my book because I'm saying it now. I already got it. But 15 social media secrets that get you caught. Because
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
it's
It's
so social media will get you caught out there. Like it's so funny. It's a group on Facebook. I thought it was a joke, but it is real. And it was like, Sisters, what's the tea in New Jersey? Like they have the New Jersey edition, all these. So what women do is they'll go post a person, what's the tea?
yeah.
And I'm just like, well, anyway. So when getting back to social media and relationships and social media and mental health, what do you think
Yeah.
in regards to how it affects us mentally?
Well, you can spend too much time on social media, which will affect your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, that definitely has been some of my situations. Is if I'm seeing the side of your face most of the time when we're together because you're in your phone, like sometimes I just kind of observe and just the kids is on the phone, the ladies on the phone. And it's like you're all in the same space and no one's talking, no one's building anything, no one's that form of just communication is not the same. So yeah,
I hate it in the grocery stores with kids.
you just said what?
I really hate seeing that in the grocery
Yeah,
store with kids.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
kids will be like, "Mommy, mommy," and they're like pushing a cart, and you're not even paying attention to the shopping. But
right,
you know, that's an experience you're missing out because of the phone.
right, yeah, yeah.
I get
And
that.
phones are problematic just because it causes other rifts in relationships because if you are loose with your kids with the phone and they're of age, you got to understand you're giving your kids access to the world and everybody in it, you
Yes,
know. And I've seen a couple times where women I was dating, young girls was they thinking they're talking to a little boy, and it's a grown man on the other end of that phone trying to lure the child out of the house. So, you know, those kind of things, and going back to it, depending on how mature that woman is, um, she gets offended by you trying to be, protective of,
man.
yeah.
Let let's
So,
let's talk about that really quickly because I'm
okay.
gonna be transparent. There was a time, I guess I was like the bitter baby mama, for just a few years. And like when
Mhm.
Mother's Day would happen, you got all these women saying Father's Day would happen, they would say happy Father's Day to all the single women.
Mhm.
And I remember, I think I did that for 3 years. And I remember the fourth year, it kind of was like, and I think it was a blessing I had two boys, because
Mhm.
now I'm forced to see it from a different perspective. Because even though I was raised around couples that lasted a long time, women were dominant in my family.
Mhm.
The rulers. Okay. Like I remember one
Mhm.
time I was at a family reunion and all we talked about and was the women. And I was like, well, what did the guys do? Like, what did granddad be like? Was he a bum? And then come to find out, he's like Sergeant 2-star something in some war. And no one would have
Wow.
never said or mentioned it because all we talk about is the women. So,
Mhm.
and I do believe there is a such thing as feminine and masculine energy. I think sometimes
Yeah.
we exhibit one or the other, but you have the hat store called Alpha.
Yeah.
And do you think that there is something in media trying to take away the alpha? Not take away the alpha, but
Yeah.
like I feel like there's this thing with women being more mannish
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
stepping
Mhm.
into their femininity, not realizing that that's their power.
Yes. I've learned. Yeah, I do think there's an agenda. I remember being in the store and picking up a pair of pants and kind of looking around, like, am I in the men's section? Just because of the cut of the jean. Um, but yeah, there's definitely that, right? And then there's the black household, like you said, is mostly dominated by women.
Yeah.
In some of my relationships, that has been a problem because um, I am an alpha male, just naturally. You know what I mean? So it's not like I gotta walk in like, "Hey, the champ is here." It's already
It's
understood.
energy.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, a lot of women have that bitter story, and a lot of times, those type of situations create that bond, and a lot of women are selfish. They don't want, don't take one of our tribes. And I've had more problems with family members um trying to stop me from being a father figure to the young ladies, children that I was dating, um to the point where they would be like, "He ain't your daddy. We all know this, but are you going to play the
You
father
want
figure
your
role?"
daddy?
You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. Yeah, so I definitely have had issues with family, preferably women. Normally, women are the dominant in black households, and they don't tend to. They either don't understand the value of a strong black man in the household. They'll understand if somebody break in because they're gonna want you to jump up and go to the front while they hide, right?
Right.
But that yeah, it's interesting
I think.
because the
Go ahead.
structure of the structure of the family is the last piece of the puzzle. We all making money now, right? We all riding good, dressing good, eating good, looking good, smelling good, but we're still in the same place. So the only piece that we have to fix is the piece that they took first, which is the family unit and understanding the value of the father, the mother, the kids in that order. Because I promise you, if every house in the projects have a father in it, it's a different dynamics in them streets. Because them kids ain't out late night.
Yeah. I think we have to realize as Black people, particularly, how much it was a very intentional thing to take the Black men out the house, because,
Mhm.
we were in hiding getting married in slavery. And it wasn't until
Mhm.
the crack industry, the crack era, is what really messed us up. And when they introduced welfare, that's what really
Mhm.
jacked us up. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's when the single mother population went through the roof because it was more profitable for the man to not be there. And
Yeah.
so I think when I look at women and looking even at them as myself, I think a lot of my bitterness came from having to be both, or not both, but
Mm-hmm.
having to do everything with my children when I didn't sign up for that, right? But
Mm-hmm.
again, if you don't take the time to heal, now you don't realize that you have the signs, and you don't realize your power in choosing your mate to have actual
Yeah.
children. You don't just get pregnant by osmosis, and we live in a time where you can avoid that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So I think women do need to take a moment to heal, and then I think for the men, they need to take a moment to understand why are we this way? Why are some women this way? Because there is a fear. Like, remember back in the day when you couldn't even. So black men have it hard because I feel like did not they don't have a real space to be that man, because even before in the past, you got killed if you was too much of a man. And then
Mm-hmm.
how can you protect your woman if that might mean you might get beat up by these cops? If you
Yeah.
don't let them do this, or you don't, there's a
Yeah.
lot of in between stuff I think we forget. Um, and what things stem from and why we're the way that we are. But I mentioned this on another show. But currently, the strongest lasting relationship of the races is a black woman with a white man.
Mm.
But the most economic relationship is between a black woman and a black man. So if a black woman and a black man was on the same page in the same book, going in the same direction, they are an unstoppable force economically. It's
Yes.
just for some reason at the moment, like I don't know if you watch Raising Canaan. I love the girl Paula. I forgot her last name, but she's Raquel. She's married to a white guy. Our VP is married to a white man. And I'm having this show because I can't do it. And it's like all of the traumas that we've been through with the each other, it's like we know, and I get it. Some people do it maybe for political or propaganda moves, or maybe it's
Mm.
love. I don't know.
Mm.
I just don't see it. I don't see
Yeah.
how I don't
I,
see the crossover, but I do feel like there's just a lot of hurt that we just haven't dealt with.
well, I'll go back to something that you said earlier, that the women have to heal and the man has to understand why women are that way. Before he can even relate to your healing, he has to find healing in himself as well. So when you guys come together, there's a balance. More beautiful, right? It's two people that love each other to have that power dynamic that heal together.
Yeah.
Like, man, what can stop that? If whatever your traumas and your fears and your insecurities are, and I can pour into that and I can help you heal from that, and you can do the same thing for me, can anyone tell you anything
No.
outside of that? Like, we locked in, like, and I'll die for you. You know what I'm saying? And that's the understanding and the level that we have to have in that kind of relationship. And I think a man can't get to that point if he is hurting himself and he don't know himself to even be that to the household.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So now you just came out with your latest single, Heartbreak. Um,
yes.
it stemmed from a very personal time in your life of going through a divorce. But, I did read recently that the divorce rates are going down. In some
Yeah.
way and somehow, you still believe in love. Is that correct? Like, you
Oh
still
yeah,
believe.
love is dope. Love love is the silently the reason why we do everything.
Yeah.
It's the reason why you get up in the morning and work, be it for your kids or for, just so you can take care of your people, or is, you got to take care of your household. So love is directly connected to everything we do. It's why women go get their fingers and toes done. It's the reason why I'm in the barbershop every week, you know, even if it's self love, right? Like it's love is the foundation of everything on this planet. And the world tries to hijack the pureness of love and make you love things. You know, people can love their cars, but there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
People can love weed, but there's a disconnect because weed can't love you back. Your car can't love you back. Like you have to, you
Not
know,
sure
and
we
a
can't
lot,
hold you. I'm just kidding. I was
yeah. So, so love is the most powerful thing on this planet.
Yeah. And with that being said, I really feel like if we get to that point of focusing on that, we would be unstoppable
Oh, absolutely.
as a culture, because what's happening now, I do feel like there's like a war of man and woman. It's so annoying. And but I also think if people, and I'm saying this as a social media manager, I feel like people should fall back from social media and
Yeah,
stop, and read and research, because most things, I feel like one of the biggest problems with social media is people don't read. They don't do research anymore. You literally can post something and say it's true and no one will research it. They'll just believe it and run with it. And now that's their new belief. That's their
yeah,
new, you know,
yeah. I agree. I see
yeah,
that all the time. Yeah,
yeah,
I see that all the time. I think you have to be grounded in something. Um, that's why when I say I'm a believer, there's guidelines, there's foundational things there. Even if I act up, even if I, whatever I do, like there's still some type of foundation there to hold me accountable.
yeah,
And if you don't have anything in place to hold you accountable, man, you're wilding out. Then you're forced to come up with your own opinions and ideas based on your emotion, which
yeah.
is the wrong place to be. Like, yeah,
Because
that
emotions
doesn't
are
work.
feelings and they come and go.
Right.
And you know what's so funny? And this is something I learned in therapy. Okay. I realized, so I had a situation once with someone in business. And if someone asked me today, would you ever do business with this person? The answer is no, right?
Mhm,
It's very
mhm.
easy, simple, because it's logical. But I realized that decision making is not the same when it comes to the matters of the heart. You don't
Right. Oh
when you're in an emotional state, you're literally like dumb. You can
yeah.
be not dumb, but you're so receptive of everything outside of logic that if you're
Yeah.
coming from a total place, now don't get me wrong, I do think you should, follow your feelings and all of that stuff. But emotion is different than feelings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
if you're
Very
making
true.
solely on my emotions, I'm going to make even sometime a grave decision. you know,
Right.
so I totally agree with that. Like and I didn't, again, everybody should get therapy because I wouldn't have made that connection had I not had that conversation, if I wasn't like processing the
Mhm.
moment where it's like, this is very simple in the business world. Hell no, I would never work with this person, But would I ever get back with this person? It should still be the same response, but because it's a matter of the heart, you have a hesitance or you are off of what it feels like versus what is it doing really to you.
Right.
why
Right.
are you why are you here in this, process, So that's
Right.
just what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And I
will
get it.
go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I get it. It works that way for men as well.
Yeah.
I know. Women think that our cutoff game is strong. Um, if a man cuts you off quickly, he was never invested emotionally.
Yeah.
Men, man, I've seen men cry in the middle of the street because his woman left him.
Yeah.
A man that is invested emotionally, it takes a while. That man will fight tooth and nail to keep his relationship because we don't give our hearts out a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
And we're in a society where if you follow the trendy conversations of dating and social media, they be like, if he ain't doing this, if he ain't got this, if he ain't blah blah blah, cut that nigga off. And I just think that's so immature.
It is.
I just think that's so immature.
Especially when you don't have it.
Right.
I hate it when people ask for things that. Now, don't get me wrong. I do feel like as a woman, I want someone who can add to me, and of course, financially, you want someone that can help, right? But there are going to be days. Let's say he gets injured, right? You want to
Yeah.
tell me because he's injured, you're not going to no longer like. I'll never forget. I made this post. I deleted it because it really broke my heart. And I had put it was like a scenario questions, and it was something like if you're about to get married, and 5 days before your wedding, he becomes like a quadriplegic. Are you leaving? And you know how many people publicly said they would leave? And I'm just like, now don't get me wrong, it is a lot to consider, but if you already got married and it happened, what's the difference? You already made the decision, just that you didn't cross the line yet. Or
Yeah.
let's say that something happens and now I don't know, like to me, I think it's just so I don't know. I think that's like crazy. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
but
I agree. I agree. I agree. But that's the culture we live in. We like the think about how social media portrays life. You're only going to post the
good
best of
stuff.
times.
Yes.
You're not going to talk about how, for someone to post something real in their life, you don't see hardship until um, the GoFundMe account to bury a loved one,
Yeah.
or depending on how ratchet you are, if you have a breakup and I saw what I saw yesterday. I think this guy's paying a certain amount of money in child support. It's like $50 for the month, and she was putting the stuff up. And the first thing I thought about was, how are you my friend? Like, how did this? How am I seeing this?
Wait, I
Because
don't understand that part. She was putting what up?
like his how much he pays a month in child support and all this stuff, and he's not
Oh,
paying it. And,
embarrassing him publicly.
yeah, it's like, but the embarrassment is you.
Yeah.
You're embarrassing yourself.
Yeah,
Like,
you're revealing who you really was. And I really
yeah,
feel like with the lack of personal development, the lack of just not having anything except for the phones and not blaming everything on the phone, but just where we are in society, I really feel like behavioral personality issues are at a all-time high. Like
yeah,
people don't have as much empathy and respect as they used to. Like how you were mentioning, like if a man just moves on, he didn't care about you. Like if
yeah,
someone is in a relationship that they were serious about and they're in a relationship with someone else, like in 90 days or 30 days, that person was already there.
right.
Unless you're doing the same cycle, which you're moving too fast,
Mm, true.
that could be a situation too. But I think when we do, and then don't get me wrong, I think there is a such thing as someone it could happen, but it's so rare when it's like 0 to 90 days we're getting married. You really didn't. There's no way that you know this person, so that's a problem on both ends. Why do they want to rush, and why are you such in a rush when it's supposed to be forever? You know what I
Right.
mean? But at the same time, we do live in a microwave society where, that's why we're unhealthy. That's why we eat
Mhm.
the most horrible things because it's out of convenience. I'll
Yeah.
go on a rant about that. I won't go into that. Um,
Mhm.
but one of the things that you mentioned, and I won't hold you hostage for too long, but one of the things,
Enjoy me.
yeah, one of the things that you mentioned was when someone when the individuals are going between this battle, right? And you said, what did you say? You said they feel like they embarrass them, and I don't understand why people would still even entertain it. Because in my head, I don't know how you feel about this quote. If you embarrass me publicly, you are going to lose access to me privately. Period. It's just, I think that's just a really simple boundary. It's like, why would you do that?
I agree with you, but it goes back to what you said about love
Yeah.
and your temperament, because I've had someone try to embarrass me publicly. I've had like someone tell stuff about me that was personal and stuff that I was dealing with and shared with people.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of THOTS Podcast, True Honest Opinions Towards Success. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and don't forget to leave us a review, share your thoughts in the comments, and your reviews literally help us to improve and create content that resonate with you. Until next time, love, peace, and hair grease. Bye.